Hello TikTokers, I am a representative, well a sponsor of Gold Standard Radio, and you've probably seen me about, so I kind of dabble in a lot of things. So I thought I would dedicate some time to some immigration issues to do with recording artists who may want to travel to the UK. So I thought I'd start off with the creative visa, which is the one that's kind of plugged to artists. And they may not realise that with the creative immigration visa, you cannot accept paid employment. So that's the key issue I'm going to start off with. But the creative visa is for artists, entertainers, musicians, their entourage, and who want to visit the UK for up to 6 months for permitted creative activities. Now, what do they mean by permitted creative activities? That means it has to be specific to your skill or to your profession. So if you are a singer, it has to relate to singing. So that is your permitted activity. If you're a dancer, it has to relate to dancing and stuff like that. And so, and also, not only does it have to relate to your artistry, you have to demonstrate your skills, and you have to have had international recognition in a creative field. Now, they're not going to ask you to get up and sing and dance unless you've been on X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, which will evidence the fact that you have international acclaim. So how else can you prove that you have international acclaim? How else can you prove that you can demonstrate that you are more than qualified as a recording artist to come to the UK? I would imagine you would have to show sold out venues, evidence of ticket sales, maybe the number of records you've sold, the number of streams you have. I really don't know how you prove or demonstrate the skills, short of standing up in front of the Home Office and singing, which they will not allow you to do. So the creative visa is a subcategory of the standard visa and costs £115 for 6 months. And like I said, it requires you to prove artistic ability and your potential contribution to the UK's creative scene. It does not lead to settlement in the UK, so you can't say you're going to come in as an artist, perform as an artist, and then on the side try to find a British wife. You can't do that, or try to get a job, or any type of paid employment. The creative visa is for unpaid employment. You're working for free. You're probably getting your expenses paid. Maybe you just want the publicity. I don't know why you'd want to come to the UK and perform for free, but that is what the creative visa is for. I'll talk about the other visas in another video that where you are permitted to receive pay. Okay. So the requirements for a creative visa: you are a visa national, i.e. you require a visa to enter into the UK. You are genuinely entering the UK for the purpose of performing for free and not seeking it as a way to remain in the UK by marrying someone or going under the radar. Lots of people, they think, oh yeah, I'm going to go over there to sing, but on the meanwhile, I'm going to try and find somebody over there. I'm going to stay with a friend, or I'm going to try and stay there. That is not the purpose of the creative visa. You should not undertake any prohibited activities. Now, what are the prohibited activities? Like I said, you cannot work or take payment. You can't start a business. You can't marry someone. They don't say that, but that is one of the rules. You can't try to get a job. You can't start selling stuff on eBay and trying to make money that way. And you cannot provide goods and services. So in other words, you are literally coming to the UK on the creative visa to create for free or to perform for free. One of the criteria is, of course, you have sufficient funds to cover expenses in relation to your visit, and you cannot do it by borrowing or seeking help from third parties. So you can't say, oh, I haven't got enough money, but my auntie is going to lend me some money when I get there, or I have a friend over there who's going to give me some money. You won't get your visa application approved. You have to show, and they will ask you for statements. You can't, and you have to have statements for up to 3 to 6 months, so they can see the consistency of your account, that you have enough money. They also like to know that you have some reason to go back to your country, i.e. property, a business. So if you're coming over here to perform a show, you would need to you'd need to prove that you have something that keeps you in your country, wives, kids, house, like I said, a business. There is a way to get paid to be paid for activities. That's via the permitted paid engagement rules, which I'll talk about in another video. Another requirement for accepting or applying for the creative visa is that you will not frequent the UK or make successive visits. Your application does not fall for refusal under the general grounds for refusal. That means if you've been refused before, it's unlikely you're going to be accepted this time. And usually people are refused for false representation, providing incorrect information, missing documents, previous breaches of immigration law, like you've been deported and you try to come back, criminality, convictions, deportation, prison sentence, failure to provide information, necessary information, incorrect documentation submitted, corruption, extremism, international travel bans, lack of financial support, national security. And sometimes national security, they can just look at you and think, oh, he looks a bit dodgy, we're not going to have him here, when they look at the photograph or whatever. So sometimes it can be based on the stereotype, it could be based on the country that you're coming from. But you can be refused based on that, under the grounds of public concerns and national security. People giving vague reasons for coming to the UK, that's another reason they can refuse you. Lack of ties to your home country, like I said, previous visas refusals, if you've been refused a visa before, and an incomplete application, or where there's further documentation required. You can reapply, but you better make sure you find out why you were rejected. And also your presentation of your application form. Some people think they just have to complete the application form and they don't take pride in its appearance. A lot of how you present yourself, well, in the absence of yourself, whatever you present, your application represents you. If it's got a lot of spelling errors or you haven't completed it properly, it tells the advisor or the examiner that this person isn't articulate. This person doesn't know how to complete a basic form. It might be a basic form to them. It's not necessarily a basic form for us. They're very straightforward, but they're very intricate. And some of the questions that look like they're being repeated are just questions that are said in a different way. So you have to make sure you take time and read it. I was doing a training course, a government training course, and I ticked something very quickly because I thought I'd read the answer. And instead of it saying, I got it wrong because it said provide 2 options and I only provided 1. So sometimes there are things, the way it's worded, make sure you read the instructions explicitly over and over again before you start completing it. Take a photocopy of the application form, complete it in draft, get somebody to check it for you if you don't have the help or you can't afford an immigration lawyer. I'm not an immigration lawyer. I am qualified up to OISC 2, which means I cannot give advice. I can only share information, which is what I'm doing, and I hope you find it useful. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.